With the 7 deadly sins defeating Cath for the time being, the 4 Knights of the Apocalypse, in their quest to find Merlin in the real King Arthur, hidden somewhere within the vast dimension of Camelot, they come face to face with a new order of knights, known only as the Knights of the Holy Grail. These 5 knights ambush the 4 knights while masking their magical presence, and manage to get a sneak attack on them. However, the group manages to fight back, with Gawain managing to knock out, or at least for the time being, 2 of them, Tristan knocking out another, and Percival managing to hold off the 4th. But Lancelot takes on the 5th member, who seems to be their leader, a man in an Oni mask holding a katana. And he is able to not only push Lancelot back, surprising Lancelot and shocking him, but also manages to land the first real piece of damage Lancelot has ever received in the manga. One singular cut on his cheek, and it begins to bleed. Not even Cath disguised as Arthur was able to do such a thing. And that is not only impressive, it is shocking. And it shows that we are finally going to be getting some challenges for Lancelot, especially going forward. But that leaves us with a big question. Who exactly are the Knights of the Holy Grail? And why do they keep referring to the 4 Knights of the Apocalypse as fakers, and King Arthur as not a fake, but a real king? Well, the answer to that seems impossible, but it might actually be simple. These 5 knights are the future children of the 4 Knights of the Apocalypse. Like I said, seems impossible, right? Well, that's what we're going to get into today, who these characters might be, who their parents are, as well as how they are here in the present and fighting their quote-unquote parents while they are still relatively young. But before we jump into things, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. Really helps, and it shows you guys enjoy the content I make here on the channel and shows you want to see more. And yes, there will be more of these extended thoughts and general discussion videos for 4 Knights of the Apocalypse, because there is a lot in the manga that I do want to talk about that I haven't been able to talk about when it comes to the chapter reviews. But that's enough stalling. Why do I think that these characters are the children of the 4 Knights of the Apocalypse? Well, there's a few pieces of evidence to bring that up. One being the big one, if you know at least a little bit about the Arthurian legends in terms of the quest for the Holy Grail, the knights that do tend to be in the quest for the Holy Grail tend to be characters like the children of Percival or Lancelot, like Galahad. In one instance, Percival was originally, I believe, in one of the legends, the one to look after and find the Holy Grail. And much more recent, I say recent, but it's been a long time since it was adapted or whatever. Lancelot's son, Galahad, would be the knight to search for the Holy Grail, same with Lancelot. So the idea that they're called the Knights of the Holy Grail really does add into the fact that we are seeing more knights in this universe for the Round Table, and you can't just haphazardly call a new group or order of knights the Knights of the Holy Grail without it being tied to this particular story of Arthurian legend, and not having any of the characters be characters from the Arthurian legend and members of the Round Table in those legends. And not only that, but the character in the Oni mask with the katana, who many assume to be Galahad, which I'll explain in a second, says that this order of knights are meant to make the deformed right again. And in the story of the Holy Grail, the whole point of the Holy Grail is to essentially help heal a devastated land area and heal the king of fishermen, or at least that's the one I know of at least. And due to the nature of the story of 4 Knights of the Apocalypse, where they are in a chaos dimension, Camelot, created by Cath, a chaos creature, a primordial being that used the creations of the power of chaos to warp and deform the world. For all we know, these knights are on a quest for the Holy Grail to use its mystical power to heal the world from the twisted nature that was created due to Cath's interference, or perhaps in a distant future or parallel world, chaos running amok and ruining the world, with the only thing being able to set everything right being the Holy Grail. And so with that, those little pieces of information, what character potentially being Galahad, the order being called the Knights of the Holy Grail, and that they make the deformed right again, all while they are in the literal realm of Camelot, the pieces of evidence do tend to come together. Well, that at the very least explains why they could potentially be Knights of the Round Table, or at least for one of them to potentially be Galahad, and we're having a setup for a Holy Grail adaptation in Four Knights of the Apocalypse. Why do I think these are the kids of the Four Knights of the Apocalypse? Well, let's start off with the knight that Percival ends up fighting first. This knight fights with a rapier-type blade and uses the attack Rose Squall. This is a move, a fighting technique, only An knows. Well, An and her deceased mother. And this knight cannot be An's mother because An's mother is already dead, and she saw her spirit during the events of the fighting festival, the Gladiator Festival post-time skip, which unfortunately we only get to see in a volume extra, which I cannot find the page for, unfortunately. It's very hard to find at this point for me. But the fighting style is a massive hint to this knight's identity. The fact that they know this particular fighting stance is very likely they are related to An. And since Percival is in a relationship with An in Naziennes, the pieces connect in that aspect where we are seeing potentially the, from what I can tell, son of Percival fighting him in the present day. So that is something to consider, which means that this character is most likely, I'm going to butcher this pronunciation, Lohengrin, the Knight of the Swan from Arthurian legend. This tends to be, in some interpretations, the child of Percival. But we have another character that might actually be the child of Percival as well. The archer that was camouflaging and hiding themselves with magic. Honestly, the hat seems a lot similar to Naziennes' herbalist hat that she wears, so that is a strong possibility. And also, I want to correct myself from the chapter review because I somehow completely forgot all this. We have seen characters multiple times in the story of Seven Deadly Sins and Four Knights of the Apocalypse as well hide magic or use magic to conceal magical energy or mess with it. So, yeah, that is my bad. It has been a while since I reread the story, so that is my bad. So, yeah, I'm gonna fully take blame for being an idiot on that one, but thanks for pointing that out. Either way, this character hiding their magic power, perhaps they are a herbalist, perhaps they're using the area or poisons around them to make some sort of camouflage or something like that. Honestly, the only thing I have off is the herbalist hat, and this character might be the son or daughter. We don't get a good look at how this archer is drawn, so there is no way to know whether or not it's a boy or a girl. But in Arthurian legend, Percival tends to have two sons, one being Lohengrin and the other being Cardiez. I know I am pronouncing that wrong, but yeah, Percival has two children for the most part in Arthurian legend. Next up, let's talk about Tristan, because we see a character with angel wings, with goddess clan wings. When Gawain ends up knocking this character out of the way, the wings flap in her face. And so that's something that confuses Gawain, because why would a goddess clan member serve as a chaos knight? In service of Camelot, they hate the other clans. So that is definitely a big piece of information. And with the other stuff with the Holy Grail and potentially Galahad being here, then yeah, this character being a goddess clan member, definitely related to Tristan if we are going the route of the future children. Now, based on the armor of this knight, I could conclude that this character is most likely a woman based on how the armor is structured in this aspect. So it is very strong. So this could be the child, the daughter of Tristan and Isolde. And funnily enough, after checking things out, in some interpretations where Tristan does have children, one, he has a son called Tristan the Younger, so Tristan the Second, and another, they name their daughter Isolde. So they literally named their children after each other, which is something that I find hilarious. But also another thing that is kind of funny as well is that, or at least tragic, is that in Arthurian legend, Tristan's love story with Isolde does tend to end in tragedy. So this could be a potential future, if we are going that route, where Tristan is seeing the future of him and Isolde, where they do live happily ever after with a daughter, or for all we know, it's the son. But I do think it'd be a pretty fun parallel if Tristan and Isolde had a boy and a girl, but it's a mirror of Meliodas and Elizabeth in terms of the son having the demon powers of Tristan and the daughter having the goddess powers of Elizabeth. So when Tristan has kids, his Nephilim abilities kind of get split amongst his two children. I think that'd be pretty fun to see. But yeah, that's really the only big piece of evidence that I can tell from what we have that this is the child of Tristan, because who else of the four knights has goddess powers, and what other goddesses could potentially be related to Tristan. Next, we have the sorcerer in the spiral mask with long arms. It's Gawain's child. Can't tell if it is a guy, might actually be the son of Gawain and potentially Balin, because it seems like that is a potential route we're getting now that Gawain is no longer into women, seemingly. I'm not going to delve into that right now, but seemingly Gawain is going to have a child, and the sorcerer does seem to be that child. Only real evidence is that the rest of the characters seem to be children of the four knights. We have a sorcerer here that chants spells. They used Blitz Javelin. Gawain tends to spam that a couple of times in post-time skips, so, you know, linking the two together. That's really all I got for it. Gawain in Arthurian legend, obviously, is a man in Arthurian legends, and Gawain was gender swapped in Four Knights of the Apocalypse to fit the story better. Either way, in Arthurian legend, Gawain has a lot of sons, and they all tend to be, like, romance-based with their stories. I haven't read all of them, obviously, but from what I can tell, no real connection to the Holy Grail at all. Same with Percival and Tristan's kids, or at least Tristan's hypothetical kids in some interpretation of Arthurian legend. The only child of the Four Knights of the Apocalypse, or members of the Round Table, that end up participating in the quest for the Holy Grail is Galahad, which is the final member of this Order of Knights we're going to talk about. His name's definitely going to get dropped next chapter, but in Arthurian legend, Lancelot and Galahad end up having to search for the Holy Grail, and Galahad is the one to find the Holy Grail. He is the more purest of knights, the one that has true chivalry and is more pure of heart. Other than Percival, because in some instances of, the Holy Grail quest, Percival is very pure. He has his chastity and stuff like that, apparently, so purity in multiple aspects, I guess, and that's why he was fit to find the Holy Grail. Anyway, Galahad, in more modern interpretations of the Holy Grail, tends to be the one to lead the quest for the Holy Grail. And in the legends, he's also the only knight of the Round Table that seems to be strong enough to be able to fight his father, Lancelot. And as we saw in this recent chapter, he was strong enough to not only be able to catch Lancelot off guard with a decent blow to his arms, also managed to cut him, and also managed to not get any real damage dealt onto him and consistently parry Lancelot's blows. Even though in that instance, Lancelot was being kind of casual, the fact remains he was able to catch Lancelot himself off guard and deal an actual, even though it's small, piece of damage. Combine that with literally everything else we talked about, it's very likely that this character is in fact Galahad. So that is an insane thing to see. So with the little bit of evidence we have right now, and the setting and everything we have right now, these five knights, the Knights of the Holy Grail, do seem to potentially be the future children of the Four Knights of the Apocalypse. How that could happen? Well, either alternate time nonsense due to the realm of Camelot. Maybe it's messing with entering other realities or realms and stuff like that. Maybe it has to do with the Holy Grail that this Order of Knights is looking for, and they got dragged here as well. Who knows? A lot of possibilities. Very easy for Nakba to screw this up and make this too convoluted for its own good, but I do have faith that this will at the bare minimum be a fun story, because this has a lot of potential. And if we bring in alternate timelines and especially different realities, it'd be fun to see characters from like Seven Deadly Sins origin original stories, like the Ragnarok storyline with Nordic legend being placed in the Seven Deadly Sins universe in their own realm, or the Seven Catastrophes being brought into that as well. And we can use the Seven Deadly Sins origin stuff with the Book of Stars being a guidepost to other worlds, as in the lore of that game. Nakaba could be taking those aspects as inspiration for this upcoming storyline or saga for Four Knights of the Apocalypse, maybe for a part 3, if we end up going that route. But either way, that's a discussion for a different video, if we're being honest with ourselves. For right now, it seems very likely that these five knights are the children of the Four Knights of the Apocalypse from a distant future or an alternate reality. The possibility that they are called fakers, like I mentioned at the very, very beginning of the video, could have to do with the fact that their world is deformed and warped for all we know. And maybe their parents, maybe they are dead, long dead at that point in the story, or when they came to this world, they were given conflicting information, and they're having to fight alternate fake doppelgangers of their parents from whatever monsters or evil that they're facing in their world, for all we know. The possibilities, like I said, are endless, and there is a lot of potential. But we'll have to wait and see how the story progresses going forward, on how Nakaba wants to make this potential storyline end up being. But you guys let me know in the comment section down below what you think are going to be these characters' true identities. Do you think we are getting Galahad and the other children of the Four Knights of the Apocalypse? Do you think they're just a different group of knights that are meant to be just references to the four knights and their children, and we're not doing wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey, or different dimension multiversal stuff. Let me know in the comments below what you think and what you would prefer, and if you're excited for the future of the story going forward. Let me know. And with all that said and done, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope you all have an awesome day.